Hi everyone, it's Klein Sensei. I'm here making a video for our craft today, which is going to be calligraphy. So the Japanese word for calligraphy is Shodo. It means the way of the brush. Okay, so just like Aikido is the way of meeting in harmony, Shodo is the way of the brush. And again, back in the old days, a lot of samurai and other very serious martial artists practiced calligraphy to help them with their sort of quiet mind, self-control. So it's a really good thing to do in addition to martial arts practice, is Shodo. Okay, so we're getting started today. As you can see, I don't know if you can see, but I have a little platform set up in my bedroom here. Go ahead, come back up. And yeah, I'm sitting on a pillow on top of a blanket, so I have a nice soft place to sit seiza on my knees. And then in front of me I have a piece of newspaper, and on top of that I have a piece of felt, and on top of that I have a nice piece of printer paper. So that's my setup. Okay, a couple of the other things we need is some ink. This is called sumi. It's made from charcoal or wood ash, and this is the traditional thing we do calligraphy with. But if you have any kind of black paint, that's good. Just make sure it's nice and watery. So the best option would be like black watercolor paint. So if you have a watercolor kit, just make a nice little, so you can see I put my ink in this little dish. Find a little bowl, mix up your watercolor paint, try to get it as dark as you can, and then make sure it's nice and watery and put it in a little bowl right next to you. Okay, so we have our paper, we have our ink, we also need our brush. This is called fude in Japanese, but you can see this is a special calligraphy brush. It's straight, it's got a nice poofy end like this. So you can use a regular paintbrush too, just make sure it's got a nice big brush head here. You don't want to have a little scrawny brush. You want something that you can make thin lines and thicker lines. Okay, so this is all we need for our calligraphy: paper, ink or paint, black paint, and a brush. Okay, we'll get started. So now that we've gotten our brush nice and pointy, we're going to start our first practice, which is thin lines. Notice how I'm making a very light pressure, and thick lines, heavy pressure. So you're using the same brush, but you can make a very thick line and a thin line. Okay, so just keep going. Thin line, light pressure, thick line, heavy pressure. Thin line, light pressure. See, I can make it really, really thin so it almost disappears. And then thick line, I can make it really thick and dark. Okay? So try a few papers worth. Thin line, thick line. You can fill up every corner of your paper. You don't want to waste paper. Thin line, thick line. Keep practicing. And again, make sure your brush is up and down, not sideways. For traditional calligraphy, you're just going up and down, adding different kinds of pressure. Okay, so keep going, thin line, thick line. Make sure, go back to your ink, make your brush nice and pointy and up and down, and keep going, fill up, I'd say 2 or 3 papers until you feel like you can control how thick or how thin your line is. Okay, good. Alright, so you've done a few papers of thick and thin lines. Now we're going to try what we call the horizontal line. It's called the okaku. Okay? So if you look on your flower diagram that you printed out, you'll see there's some diagonal-ish lines on it. So a horizontal line is just going from left side to right side. But you can see it starts with this. Then you're going to turn your brush a little, go over, come up and down. Okay, so that's kind of a bad one, but I call them dog bones. They have big parts on each end. Okay, so again, down, you can see that on your white paper. Come up, it's a little bit curved, up and down. So practice these dog bones. Down, turn the brush, up a little, down. And notice how I'm making those ends of the dog bones by applying pressure to the brush. So again, we're not using the perfect paper, and I'm not an expert, but you want to be able to create this shape that is really a horizontal line, but has those elements of an ending on both sides. So do keep going and look at the diagram of our calligraphy today and see how close you can get. That was a pretty good one. To that outline. You'll see the outline around the character shape. Okay, so that is our okaku horizontal line. Okay, good. So do 2 or 3 papers worth of this. Okay, next. Now we're going to go do our vertical line jukaku, which is just up and down. But we're going to start at the top. If you can look on your flower diagram, you see the line that intersects the vertical line. So here I'll do a vertical line here, turn the brush over, up. There's my dog bone. Now, oh, I made it too close to the top. I'll do it down here. Turn over. Okay, and then we have a line that, so again, you can see that goes a little bit to the side and then down here. Okay, so you want a nice intersecting line. And the other line is just boom. Okay, they call that a kenshin, a needle. See how it, so one line is a little bit like our dog bone on the horizontal, and one line is a little bit pointy at the end, kenshin or needle. So every one of these strokes has a different name depending on what direction it's in, how it ends, how it looks. So why don't you practice a few more of these? So again, make your okaku, turn over, and then one jukaku with a kind of rounded end, and one kenshin. Okay, so go ahead and practice that. So this is the top element of our calligraphy, and I think it represents grass, if I recall correctly. This is a character you see often on the top of plants and other plant-like things. It means plant or grass. Or so again, our character today is hana, or flower. So it has a plant radical, they say, or part of the character. So, okay, try that. So do a bunch of these nice, kind of looks like an H shapes. Okay, so practice a few pages worth of that. Okay, so we're almost done. So for this part, I want you to fold up your paper into fourths, and then again into eighths. So see this? Now I have a nice grid shape. Okay? So flatten it out so you can still see it, but the paper lies flat. You can see these lines, and you can see in our character page we have the same grid. Okay, that shows you where to put the character on the page. So we're not going to go into a lot of detail about every one of these, but sort of figure out on your paper where to start. So I would say I'm starting about here. Get with my okaku, turn over, and there's my dog bone. Okay. Now I'm going to start from the top. My jukaku, turn down, and there. Oh, that was a little too far over, but again, we're going to do this. Turn and make my needle, my kenshin. Okay, so this is kind of a sideways needle. You can see it starts not too far from the end of this element, down. Okay, nice and pointy. You can see on the paper, you just start here, turn it, There's another jukaku. Okay, and then the last part I'm going to do over here. Now, so you can also see the numbers on your paper. That tells you the order to do them. So you do this side, and then we go all the way over to this little one on the side, which is kind of tapering downward. And then this is the last part of the character. Boom, it hops up. So we call this a hane jumping technique. So it goes around and up. So you can see my character is kind of, you want to check the spaces in between each piece, make sure it looks nice, make sure there's enough, mine's a little too close together, this is a little too big. When we do calligraphy class in Japan or with a Japanese teacher, they take an orange brush with orange paint, and they correct everything you've done wrong. And they make a circle in orange when they like a certain part of it, but they very rarely like the whole paper, so it's very exact. But really, do use your grid if you want to make it nice and straight, and then try to make your strokes in the same angle and having the same endings. Okay, but don't feel, this, we're not professionals, we're not doing this to be judged, so just do it freely. You can also do it in a very fast way, and that's an artistic way. It's called gyosho, a little more arty looking. So do whatever you want. You can do some nice stickers or stamps along the side of flowers. And again, traditionally at the end we put our names on a bottom corner in a red stamp or a seal. So if you have a red stamp, you can put anything you want. You can put a cat stamp, a kitten stamp, or any other animal that's a cat stamp on your calligraphy. So I hope you had fun. Again, this is a little bit scientific. I want everyone, because I know a lot of people in the dojo have done this, so I want you to really work on it and try to get a beautiful character for your shodo. Again, the character today is hana, or flower. All right, thank you, and see you next time. Bye, everyone. Sayonara.